We are live. The topic, which I'd like to focus on, more so geared towards beginners, is centered around the idea of scaling your agency from $0 to $10,000 per month in 90 days. There's a few concepts and mental models that we'll go through. I'm going to wait for some people to join, if anyone does, but that's the overall concept that I'd like to focus on is 0 to 10K as fast as possible. For myself, I was able to reach that milestone, and I've seen other people, do like 50, 60K MRR in 6 months. So 180 days. But we'll wait for a few people to join in. There's a few people joining in now. Hello, friends. Don't be shy. Say something in the chat. We'll begin this live stream in a few minutes. Hey, Storm, what up? How are you? We got 6 people on. A massive show. Ramon Zapata. We're just waiting. We're going to wait a couple minutes for some more people to join before I begin. I'll give somewhat of a mini presentation on my opinion of the top kind of mental models, frameworks that I think you should have in your mind as you're scaling from 0. Joshua saying, that's a great question. I'll happily address it at the end of this presentation. We'll give it another minute. If you guys have questions, you can put them in the chat. I will give a mini presentation, and I'll answer questions after this mini presentation. Gonna make a post. What's a great book you've read recently? I mean, the book I'm reading right now is The Fifth Discipline, right there. Haven't even really started it. So I did just release a video on top 8 books, but all right, let's begin. The time is now. We got about 7 people on, which is fine. Again, the topic that I wanted to talk about is pretty much just scaling from 0 to 10K MRR. If some of you are on here and you're listening to this and you already are above 10K, that's fine. These mental models still somewhat apply. But it begins with service market fit. Okay, this concept of product market fit, but you just change the word product for service. And really, this is what it's all about when you're starting. You really need to try to hone in on the service that you're offering and the market that you're offering that service to. So you might be asking yourself, okay, what service should I offer? How can I identify what service I can offer? And 2, what market can I offer it to? Now, the better sequence to kind of approach, the better approach in my opinion, is what market interests me, and then how can I get in contact with this market to understand some of the pains that this market is experiencing. And when I say market, I think everybody here should just think of the word niche. The way I think market is a much general or broader term, and a lot of people may think like, bigger like marketing or sales or software or dentistries or something like this. Market will be niche, and that's kind of just the definition of that term. So don't really confuse the two. They're the same thing. So if I was to start over from zero and I had zero experience, I would probably just start thinking to myself, what market interests me? What niche interests me? When I got into Amazon advertising, I was very fortunate. My dad ended up purchasing a small little Amazon business, and I was very interested with advertising. So I knew that I wanted to do something related to online advertising because it just seemed very interesting, like the whole Facebook ads, Instagram ads, all the different types of advertising online. And the fact that just, ordering online was becoming more and more prevalent. And that was kind of an interest of mine. And so I kind of somewhat had the reverse. I kind of knew what type of service I wanted to offer. Then it came into market afterwards because I was very fortunate to have my dad purchased that Amazon business. But you start with those two questions. What's the service that you're interested in providing? For me, I was fortunate. I knew that there was something related to advertising. The market fell onto my lap because my dad bought that business, and the two just came together. And I had my service and I had my market. Now I had no idea that was such an amazing service and such an amazing market, and it was such beautiful product service market fit at that time because Amazon was a blue ocean. There was no service providers for Amazon advertising, and it worked out very well. So I was lucky in a lot of ways. But for you need to kind of define those two variables. From there, it's all about really just testing the markets. And how do you test the markets? You just got to get their attention. And the best way to get their attention, in my opinion, is to do things that don't scale. So now we're talking about signing clients. So you got your market, you got your service, you're trying to go after the market with this specific service that you want to offer. And how are you going to get your first clients? I highly recommend when you're looking to get your first clients, you don't take a very bulky shotgun lead generation approach. I highly recommend you take a very sniper rifle laser focused approach, and it's very manual and intensive, and you're doing things that don't scale. Here's an example of doing things that don't scale. Trojan horse marketing. In the video that people are most commonly familiar with, it's an automated process. You should do it manually. So this is one lead generation strategy I originally used to sign clients and help me get to $10,000 per month. Was I would find these companies on Amazon. I would find the owner somehow, Googling all over the place, just using Google and the brand name. And then I would reach out to him and I would send him a personalized message on LinkedIn saying, hey, I love your brand. I want to reach out because I think you can do this, this, and this. And I'd be more than happy to help you with your advertising. If you wanted help, I'm happy to jump on a call. It's a straightforward, simple, friendly message. It's custom, it's personalized, it's not automated, it's not templated. And it was highly effective at that time. And it's still somewhat effective to this day, just in a different form. So you can do other things. You don't have to send a video with Loom. You can just do like an outreach message through LinkedIn or email. I like the most personalized form of messaging. So that's why I recommend Trojan horse marketing, because it's very unique. If you send an email and it has a video that is a GIF autoplay, someone opens up an email. If they see a bunch of text, okay. If it's personalized, great. But if they see some personalized text and a video with a GIF in motion, it's a highly engaging email, and you're much more likely to get, in contact with that person. So personally, I don't know of a system that's better, but of course, every niche and every market is different. You have to test the waters for your market and figure out what works. Maybe a video doesn't perform as well. But do things that don't scale. So send highly personalized messages. We're talking about outbound, and do things that don't scale. That I recommend starting with outbound, because inbound takes a lot of time to generate momentum. So inbound, we're talking about, writing content, whether that be promoting your content on LinkedIn, whether that be creating a blog and trying to rank on Google. These things take time. They take time. And in the beginning, when you don't know if you have service market fit, I don't recommend wasting time, because you not only do you put a lot of time into it by waiting, but energy trying to generate momentum. So outbound is a great way to test the markets and get you from 0 to 10,000 a month very quickly. Highly recommend. I think it's one of the best ways you can start out. Now, with that being said, if you are coming into a market and you have some network with people who have podcasts and influencers in the space that can, put you on a platform to get you in front of your market, well, that's the easiest way to sign clients guaranteed. I mean, that's if you just go speak on a podcast with 10, 20,000 listeners, active listeners, well, you're likely going to get a lot of applications and a lot of business if you can kind of jumpstart that process. Very, very few people can, because platforms, generally speaking, only want to have, people that are proven to be thought leaders in the industry. They don't want to promote or have people come on and speak if they have no real experience, because that doesn't help their audience. So it's difficult to get something like that, but it is somewhat possible if you're in an emerging market and you're one of the first people to be doing what you're doing, which is actually how my story kind of started. I was one of the first people to come into Amazon advertising. There was a handful of people before me, but I was able to get podcast viewings pretty quickly because of how blue ocean the market was. So anyways, we're zooming out here. First two things we've talked about is, number one, very simple, service market fit. Identify the service you want to offer, identify the market you want to go after. And when I say market you want to go after, again, for myself, it was just businesses on Amazon that are doing at least 7 figures. In the beginning, that was 7+ figures. And so then I got even more laser focused, started to define what was called the ideal client avatar, or ideal account profile. There's many different words, but it's basically your client avatar that you want to work with. Great. So step 2 is just do things that don't scale. Start with outbound, don't start with inbound. Pretty straightforward. I've talked about this actually in quite a few videos, and I just want to reiterate it because I get a lot of comments about just getting their first clients. It's actually one of the easiest things you can do. It's just looking back, it'll be one of the easiest things you can do. When you're starting out, it doesn't feel like that. So those are really the 2 high-level things, and you don't really need to know much. I obviously can't help you with your service if you're offering Facebook ads. I can't tell you about how to do Facebook because I have no experience with that, but I can tell you the high-level important milestones you need to reach. I think those are the two most important. When it comes to doing outreach, the final thing you should know, and we'll drill down a little bit here, is if you're sending Trojan Horse videos, send a minimum of 250. I see a lot of people, they say, I sent 40 cold emails, I sent 50, I contacted 50, 60 people. It's not enough. In my opinion, the bare minimum should be 100, but I like to just say 200 because it's 250, because it's we tested the market. We did things that didn't scale. We heavily tested this message and it did or did not perform. In my opinion, if you're sending 250, you want to expect a minimum call booking rate of 2%. And you can do the math on that. That would result in about 4.5 calls, if I'm not mistaken. 5 calls. 5 discovery calls is what you should get. And if you have greater than 2%, keep doing it. Maybe you can adjust your messaging a little bit, but you'll learn along the way and you'll get feedback, which will be really great. But the most important thing is that you're getting calls. If you have less than 2% call booking rate, you can change your message. If you have a 1% call booking rate, I mean, that's okay. It's pretty bad, but you really need to change your message. If you have a 0% call booking rate, you probably need to go back to the drawing board and figure out if your video is if your outreach is just totally missing the mark. Did people watch it? What's the open rate of the email? How many people actually watched the videos that you sent? If you sent videos, how many people actually opened your emails? Are these things getting delivered? You got to look at a few metrics and track some certain things. But overall, the most important variable or metric I can give you is the 2% call booking rate. Greater than 2%, good. Less than 2%, bad. When it comes to closing people, I mean, we won't get into that, but that's pretty straightforward. I recommend audit-based selling, which is a 2-step sales process. I've talked about it in previous videos. First call is a discovery call, 10, 15 minutes. Second call is the actual audit call or sales call where you pitch the person on your services. So that's it. Let's get into questions. If you guys have questions related to everything I just said, feel free to hop on and ask any questions. But Joshua Seng has a very common question. He's pitched his offer 7 times and Joshua, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but everybody has asked you for previous case studies and you don't have any. Look, I guess my first question is, what did you tell them when they asked you for case studies? Because in my opinion, you don't lie. You tell them, look, I don't have any case studies. I'm new to this market, but I am experienced because I did this, this, and this. What does that mean? Well, I took a course by, X name. When I was starting out, I took a course by a guy. I did private consulting. I took a course by a guy named Brian Johnson. He was like the industry leader expert of Amazon advertising at that time when I was learning Amazon advertising. And so that would be an example of something. If someone said, hey, do you have any case studies? No, actually, you would be the first person I'd be working with. But I was recently, trained by Brian Johnson, who's one of the top leading experts. And I learned from him about this service that I'm going to provide for you. And if there's more objections, I can say, look, if you're really nervous, you don't have to pay me upfront. What I can do for you is I can do the work. At the end of the month, we can see the results. And if you're not happy with it, you don't have to pay me. Okay. Or you can pay me what you think my service is worth based on the results that we deliver. But I'm confident that we can deliver great results. I mean, I was trained well, and I'm looking at your account, based on my training, my understanding of Amazon advertising, it looks like we have a lot of room to grow. Okay, so I'll make sure there's no risk for you, and we can evaluate my retainer at the end of the month. It's all about mitigating the risk for the prospect that you're on the phone with. Okay, I did an interview recently, my most recent agency owner interview, and I'm blanking on his name, but he was great, and he talked about that, and he said, look, I'm not afraid of doing free work because you got to get yourself into the market somehow. You got to make a name for yourself. You got to get your first case studies somehow. Okay. And Joshua, if that means you need to do free work, do free work. I know there's a lot of people out there who coach and say, don't do free work, don't do free trials, don't do this, don't do that. Only, sign a client if you're going to get money for it. It's ridiculous. If you have no results in the market, you need to get results. And if that means you're not good enough to sell your services to people without having results so that you can't sign clients, you need to mitigate the risk. That's the only way to mitigate the risk. The biggest risk of this client is, one, you're not going to perform how they want you to. Two, you're going to waste their time. Three, you're going to waste their money. Those are kind of the big ones. And you can mitigate the money one. You can mitigate the performance one by talking about your training, and you can you can basically mitigate all three, but price is a big one. Joshua, let me know if that helps. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm helping 5-figure Amazon brands to use PPC. What price is good to charge? For 5-figure brands, man, I don't know, $1,000 to $1,000 a month with like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4% of ad revenue. That's a really small brand, You're at 2K MRR, you want to grow to 10. How can I contact Amazon sellers? I get asked this question like every day. Google it. There's tons of tools. There's ridiculous amounts of tools that you can use. I'm almost tired of giving away the answer. There's infinite amounts of tools. There's not even just one answer. There's infinite answers. Well, there seems to be no queues. Hopefully my mic has been working this whole time. If you guys don't have any queues, hopefully this was valuable for you. Any good name you can tell. Google it, man. There's tons. How did you find your niche? Yeah, so I was lucky. I basically, my dad bought an Amazon business, and I was like, the advertising doesn't look too hard. I'll try to manage the Amazon advertising for the business. I learned it. It seemed cool. I really enjoyed it. And then I started reaching out to people trying to get clients. So my niche kind of fell on my lap. But I was learning advertising prior to that. And so I was interested in advertising. How do you transition from discovery call to sales call? Yeah, discovery call is just like, hey, What's going on, Maurice? Discovery call it depends on the discovery call. If it's an inbound discovery call, it's very different than an outbound. We have different scripts and processes for the two. An outbound discovery call from a Trojan horse video will look something like this. It'll be like, hey, Maurice, what's going on? Pleasure to hop on a call with you, blah, 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 small talk. And then the big open-ended question that you really want to open with is, so what did you think of the video I sent you? Because that's the reason they hopped on the call with you. And you want to give them an open-ended question so they can take the lead of the call, because they're cold as hell. They're not warm. They don't know you. They don't know who you are. They don't want to waste their time. They don't want to listen to you 90% of the time on the phone call. They want to talk. They want to take control immediately and ask you the questions that are necessary. This isn't always the case, but it's predominantly the case. There are very few people who will just allow you to take the call and direct it however you want. So that's how you would do it in a discovery call, and then that's how you'd open it up. And then it's just like, explaining your reasoning for reaching out and talking about how the next step is for you to do an audit, so that you can evaluate whether it's worth it for you guys to work with the business. You don't want to just hop on a call and start selling your services. It fucking sucks, man. It's really shady. It just makes it feel like you're rushing a marriage. It's like you just met me and you're trying to get the ring. What are you doing? Don't rush the marriage. What's the best price point you think? Maurice Taylor, nice last name. I'm not sure. What do you mean for services? Because we charge a flat fee plus a ad revenue percentage, usually $2,500 to $3,000 flat fee with a 1% to 3% advertising revenue percentage on Better AMS campaigns. But it just depends on your service. I can't really tell you what the best price point is. There's no universal price point that works best. What do you say at the end of the discovery call? Yeah, I just said so. The next step is pretty much for us to do an audit on your account. If we don't do an audit, we really don't know what kind of performance we could deliver for you guys. That's it. Really straightforward. I love your videos. Thank you. Oh, we have Garrett. I haven't forgotten that you have reversed your name. Facebook ads, Maurice. I'm sure with Facebook ads, you could do something similar. If you're generating leads, you could also do a PPL model, a pay-per-lead model, but that's a bit more complex. And I wouldn't shift to PPL unless you have a lot of experience and you have good control over the ads, good clients. Retainer or retainer plus ad rev is fine, or whatever it is that you're generating for them. But I recommend you start with retainer unless you get a lot of experience, and then move to retainer plus percentage of ad rev or ad spend, because when you don't have a lot of experience, it's kind of tough. Yes, I have recovered from COVID. It was, it was chill. It was like a fever, an intense fever, but, it's different for everybody. I'm young and healthy, so fingers crossed I stay that way forever. But obviously, I could see how that could be very, much more severe for people who have, already have illnesses and weakness and sickness in their bodies. Well, we'll wrap this up in a couple minutes. If there's any final cues, business bargains, you really are digging. I feel like I've answered your question many times. If you try to rephrase the question to be more clear, I'll try to answer it again. mean, I don't have an answer for that because it's too open-ended. Garrett, we charge. That's a good question. We charge upfront for the retainer, and we charge end of month for the performance. We do that for cash flow reasons, obviously, because, charging at the end of the month, you go in the negative for 30 days. And so that's not ideal. But, when we started out, we would charge end of month because didn't have a lot of results. I wasn't too confident in the service, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're thinking. I've been thinking about like shifting to strictly retainer model, charge up front, auto pay, credit card. Never have issues with AR. You guys know that I posted an AR video. We got 164,000 AR outstanding. A lot of that is because of a new service that we offer called which is tied to programmatic advertising. But yeah, auto pay, shifting everybody onto auto pay credit card is just, it's a must moving forward. And we do charge up front, sorry. Is your entrepreneurial journey lonely? It was lonely for some time, for a couple of years. How do you surround yourself with like-minded people? You just got to go out and, go to local events. There's usually always a hot entrepreneurial community within wherever you'll live, unless you're in like a super remote place of the world where, I don't know, Ukraine, Russia. These are places where entrepreneurship might be a little bit less prevalent than the United States, you could say. I'll try to be careful with my words, but yeah, really, you just got to get out there and meet people, man. Network. Go to events in your city. Go to big marketing events within your industry. You got to go places. You got to speak. You got to really just show up. Don't stay in your room with your laptop. You'll never meet anybody if you do that. In regards to Trojan, is it better to focus on one pain point and amplify it as much as possible? Yeah, I mean, Trojan, it's like you can do pain, you can do ideas. I'm more biased on ideas now than pain. I've learned that like the long-term reputation of your brand is better off if you don't position your THM videos around pain and making the prospect feel bad about how poorly they're managing their advertising, and rather, make them feel good about how great their brand is and telling them that they have a lot more room to grow. So, there's that classic adage philosophy that, what sells better? Is it painkillers or vitamins? And painkillers obviously win because pain gets intense and it solves a major problem right away. It creates urgency, right? If you have a massive headache, you're going to immediately go to the store and buy a migraine. But if you're healthy and you have no issues, you're likely not going to, you have no urgency to buy vitamins. And that was my approach originally when it came to THM was, okay, pain, like, painkillers are better than vitamins. But man, short term, yes, that can be true, but you'll end up pissing some people off. And I don't want to piss anybody off. So I cared more about the brand and the long-term potential than I do short-term. If the call booking rate is better with pain, I still won't use it because it irritates some people. Personally, this is my personal opinion. So I think you can get your CBR, your call booking rate to be as high without taking a pain-centered approach and with taking a more vitamins, hey, I love your brand, here's some ideas on how I think I could grow a lot more, etc. Maurice, most of them are digital, yes, but as of recently in Panama, I've built up a good entrepreneurial community of people. Like there's a poker game going on with like 6 or 7 great entrepreneurs 20 floors above me. I chose not to go, But yeah, most of it is digital, and our team is like 15 people. So, we got a decent amount of people. It's really cool. Hopping on Zoom calls is like 7-8 people. But 7-8 is usual because the rest are offshore. But when it was starting out, yeah, it was lonely. It took time to build. How do you find the community in the Consulting Accelerator versus Uplevel? I don't know. Uplevel is definitely more qualified entrepreneurs that have more experienced, but the network is what you make it. So you'll find great people in CA and great people in Uplevel. But if you're trying to scale your agency, okay, I wouldn't join Uplevel. It doesn't make any sense. If you want to launch a course, yes, go for Uplevel. If you want to scale your agency, you're in the right place, but there's no program offering right now. Agency Enlightened's not available. And it will be soon, hopefully this year. What's your recommendation on mindset for the call? I mean, mindset's a growth mindset. It's an abundance mindset. If you don't close the call, big deal. There's trillions more people. I'm exaggerating, but it's an abundance mindset. The market's massive. The potential for scale is massive. Let it go. It's all good. Chill. No, we don't try to close on the call. We just tell them the offer, and we don't try to incentivize them or give them deals or anything like that. We just tell them, hey, here's what it is. If they want to think about it, cool. Maybe we'll try to schedule something on the calendar a couple of days later. If they don't take that call, cool. Maybe we'll follow up with them in a month or two. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, okie doke. Selling them potential, definitely much better. Do you enjoy life at the moment? Yes, definitely. Life is amazing. Should I be as concise as possible in Trojans, or is it okay to go on a tangent if I'm on fire? No, try to keep all your videos similar. In my opinion, that's more ideal. But if you can't do that because you're in very creative work and it requires you to speak creatively about things, that's fine. Yeah, go for it. But go on tangents, but just keep it concise. Try not to go on tangents too long. Try not to ramble. Rambling is kind of annoying. And just do it like less than 2.5 minutes. Don't make it more than 2.5 minutes, in my opinion, because really you could say everything you need to say in 2.5 minutes and convince them. Accent, tonality, yes. Sorry, not accent, but tonality is huge. If you could have the best script in the world, if your tonality is shit, expect a 0% call booking rate. You're immediately gonna it's gonna perform terrible. Accent, if as long as the person can understand you, great. I think you're fine. However, obviously humans have certain biases. Humans have a natural bias, a tendency to like people that sound and look like them. So keep that in mind. It doesn't mean that you can't scale. Like if I'm trying to sign clients in India and I'm not Indian, it'll be harder for me than someone that is locally in India trying to sign clients in India, in my opinion, vice versa. So it doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just a little bit harder because there's this natural human bias. And so that's it. I don't think it affects it tremendously, but it depends on the person you're reaching out to. How often do you communicate with clients? Monthly, but if we have like enterprise deals or not enterprise deals, I think just big clients, if retainers are like above $8,000-$10,000 per month retainers, we'll do weekly calls. We report things weekly, so we'll always send weekly reports to clients who are on monthly calls. Yeah. No, 5 to 6 minutes too long. 2 to 3 minutes at most. Don't go over 3. You're wasting your time because most of these people aren't even gonna look, most of the people aren't going to watch the video, and most of the people that watch the video aren't going to watch the whole thing. So 2 to 3 minutes, in my opinion, is the minimum amount of time that's needed to be able to make an effective Trojan horse video. 60 seconds is way too short. I mean, the intro alone takes 10 to 15 seconds just to say hey, okie dokie, my name is Taylor. I love your brand. I specialize in Amazon advertising. I want to reach out, because that alone is 7 seconds right there. And 2 to 3 minutes. Just joined. Usman, yes, this is Q&A, but it's ending. You caught me in the last 2 minutes. If you have a question, I might be able to answer it for you real quick. But I'm hopping off in 2 minutes. Do you recommend generally having multiple offers, 2 or 3 tiers of the same product, or just one? We have one service. We had one service for 4 years. And then we just finally released a new service this year. I mean, I'm not the best. What I'm telling you is I don't know if it's better or worse. What I can tell you is that if you offer too many services at once in the beginning, don't do it. It's too much. You're spread too thin, unless it's all very, very similar. When in that case, it would just be considered one service. But I recommend just starting with one service. That's it. And then as you scale that one service, move to another service. What is the retainer for your clients where you do one call per month only? Right now, I feel like I get a lot of my time eaten up with SEO strategy calls for clients in 1,500 per month range. So clients that are doing monthly calls are all usually in the retainer range of $2,000 to $3,000 per month. We have some legacy clients that were signed, a long time ago on much lower deal structures at 1,500 per month. I think there's and maybe 1,000 per month. We maybe have 3 or 4 clients that are between 1,000 to 1,500 per month, or 1,000 to 1,800 per month. And yeah, it's okay. But Usman, your limit is likely going to be 10 clients. You could do maybe 12 to 13, maybe 15, but at that point, you're maxed out. It's going to be too much, way too much to handle. So I've talked about this before. 1,500 is good. It's a good retainer. I wouldn't go lower than that unless you're just starting out and you want to get your first clients. But really try to move up to $2,000 a month. That should be your new minimum standard moving forward. I don't know what your MRR is right now, so maybe don't take that advice with a grain of salt. It's highly contextual depending on your MRR. But the reason why I'm saying 2K should be a minimum for everybody is because if you have 10 clients and you have 2K MRR, you're doing 20,000 a month. It's pretty straightforward. Now you need to hire an account executive because you can't manage more than 10 clients, and the account executive is likely going to have a salary between $48,000 to $72,000 per year, likely going to be between 50 to 60 if you're hiring an entry-level person with 1 to 2 years experience. If you're in India, obviously it's very different. If you're hiring local talent in the United States or Canada, first world country, it's going to be more expensive, 50 to 60-ish thousand. And 50 to 60,000, we're talking about between $4,000 to $5,000 per month. So with 4 to 5K per month on a salary and 20K MRR, you can siphon off half of your clients to that new AE, and then give them a few more new clients that you onboard and repeat the process and kind of copy paste. So if you have 10 clients at $1,000 a month, you're talking about $10,000 MRR, and now you need to hire someone for $4,000 to $5,000, and it doesn't leave you with much margin, but because you need to pay yourself, you know what I mean? So MRR per AE is an important metric to measure, and that's why I really like to make sure. It doesn't matter if you have a monthly recurring revenue or if you have one-time project revenue. Your team, whoever is an essential person, if you're selling creative work like web design services and you have a web designer, that web designer, if his salary is $4,000 to $6,000, he should be able to churn out 3x his salary on a monthly basis, meaning he'll deliver, $20K in website, production revenue, and his salary was $5K. So we're talking about, that in that case, it would be 4x. So sorry, 4 4x should be the minimum ideal. Business Bargains, you're from Canada. Congrats. What's your real name? All right, you guys, I got 1 minute. Usman, hopefully that answered your question. I know that was kind of long-winded, but it's more about MRR per AE and continuing to sign more and more ideal clients who take up less time, continuing to refine your services and who's ideal, who's not ideal, continuing to raise your pricing and all of those things go into, making sure that the time that the clients, the ITB and the business time that you're spending with those clients is more and more justified. And eventually you'll be able to hire people and you won't have to deal with clients. But yeah. Business Bargains, Barris, congrats. It's a pleasure to meet you. What part of Canada are you from? Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this. This was great. Got some Canadians on here, which is cool. And I enjoyed talking to all of you. Appreciate you all. Brampton, not familiar with it, but we'll Google it. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta. City in Canada. Interesting. Brampton, Canada. Oh, Ontario. Cool. Well, much love, guys. Thanks so much for coming on.